Hello everybody and welcome to another instalment of Jono's Graveyard Jaunts. If you are enjoying the content of the channel so far, can I please ask you to like and subscribe so the channel can grow and we can venture further afield to ever more interesting places. Today we're going to be talking about an Irish-British actor who was very famous for his lead roles in the 1950s. The man who is the focal point of today's video featured and played the lead role in the classic and epic World War II movie about the incredibly brave and daring 617 Squadron known as the Dambusters, headed by Wing Commander Guy Gibson, whom this man himself played in the 1955 classic movie of that name. Yes, we are talking about the incredibly talented actor Richard Todd, who was born in Dublin in Ireland. And here is some video footage of Richard Todd in the cockpit of a Lancaster Avro 19 bomber attacking the dams in Germany in the classic Dambusters movie made in 1955. And this was the aircraft used in the mission, carrying the legendary bouncing bomb to penetrate the wall of the dams. The bomb was designed by the incredibly smart engineer Dr. Barnes Wallace. Here we are at the stunning Derwent Dam, located in the Derbyshire Peak District. The dam in turn is flanked by two iconic Gothic towers. And this is where Wing Commander Guy Gibson and the crew of 617 Squadron, i.e. the Dambusters, practice for many hours their extremely low flying manoeuvres, flying at an altitude of just 60 feet. Now this precise altitude was required along with a speed of 226 miles an hour and a certain angle of approach in order for the circular bouncing bomb, or mine as it should be known technically, to spin backwards. Now the mine or bomb was able to spin backwards due to a combination of air pressure on the bomb falling from the aircraft and a device located on the undercarriage of the Lancaster. And that in turn would rotate the device and cause the weapon to skim along the surface of the water on impact. So when the mine hit the dam wall, the backward spinning rotation would cause the weapon to travel down the wall rather than up, and thus below the surface of the water, and it would then in turn detonate at a depth of 30 feet, triggered by the water pressure at this depth. Now the code name for the operation was known as Operation Chastise. The mission took place on the night of the 16th and 17th of May 1943, where a total of 19 Lancasters took off with a crew of 133 men from RAF Scampton in Lincolnshire to take part in a night bombing raid in the River Valley to destroy 3 dams, the Eder, the Sorpe and the Mona dams. Of those 19 Lancasters, 8 were lost with the subsequent loss of 53 lives. The Eder and the Mona were breached, but the Sorpe was only damaged. And here's the sign showing when the dam was completed in 1916. And there's the 2 towers. Here's some history. You can see Guy Gibson on the left, who was the wing commander in charge of 617 Squadron. Here we are at the stunning Petwood Hotel in Woodall Spa on the outskirts of the Lincolnshire Wolds. We're going to be looking at the front and the rear of the hotel, the gardens, the amazing wooden staircase inside of the hotel, complete with the pictures of the hotel under construction at the top of the stairwell. We're also going to be taking a look at the woodland suite as denoted by all of the wooden panelling on the walls inside of the hotel. Richard Todd also has a connection to the Petwood Hotel. When the woodland suite was finished in 2004, it was inspected by the veterans of 617 Squadron who were at the hotel for the annual reunion with their guest of honour, yes, the man himself, Richard Todd. We're also going to be looking at the flight officers' bar that was used as the actual bar by all of the squadrons who stayed here, including 617, and the various photos of Guy Gibson and the other artefacts that came from different Lancaster bombers. 97 Squadron arrived in 1942, 619 arrived in 1943, and the infamous 617 Squadron, i.e. the Dambusters, arrived in 1944 after the raids on the Ruhr Valley. And they arrived from RAF Scampton to be based at RAF Woodall Spa. And finally, 627 Squadron arrived at the end of the war. Richard's father, Andrew William-Palethorpe Todd, was an Irish physician and an International Irish Rugby Player who gained 3 caps for his country. Richard spent a lot of his time in India, where his father served as an officer in the British Army. Later in life, the family moved to Devon, where Richard attended Shrewsbury School. When Richard left school, he trained for a potential military career at Sandhurst before beginning his acting career at the Italia Conti Academy. This career change led to the estrangement from his mother, and Richard learned at the tender age of 19 that his mother had committed suicide. He first appeared professionally as an actor at the open-air theatre Regents Park in 1936 in a production of Twelfth Night. He co-founded the Dundee Repertory Theatre in Scotland in 1939. He appeared as an extra in the British films Good Morning Boys in 1937, A Yank at Oxford in 1938, and Old Bones of the River in 1939. Todd enlisted soon after the outbreak of the Second World War, entering the Royal Military College Sandhurst in the late 1940s. And on the 29th of January 1941, he was one of 26 cadets injured when D Block of the new college was hit by a German bomb in an attack by the Luftwaffe. In his memoirs, he described seeing the bomb pass through the ceiling in front of him before he was blown out of the building by its blast, landing on a grass bank and suffering from multiple lacerations. 5 cadets were killed in the incident. Todd passed out in the spring of 1941. On the day he received his commission, he tried to join several friends at the Café de Paris in London, but could not get a table booked for the evening. And that evening the venue was destroyed in an air raid and 50 newly commissioned subalterns were killed. He was commissioned into the 2nd and 4th Battalion of the King's Own Yorkshire Light Infantry, and following Arctic warfare training in Iceland, he returned to the UK as a full lieutenant. He volunteered for the British Army and graduated to the position of captain in the 6th Airborne Division and took part in the famous D-Day landings of 1944, and was one of the first paratroopers to meet the glider force commanded by Major John Howard at Pegasus Bridge, and he later played Howard in The Longest Day. And this is the house that Richard Todd lived in the last chapter of his life. And this is where he died peacefully in his sleep on Thursday, the 3rd of December 2009, and he was 90 years old. We are just coming up to the gates of the very peaceful and remote St Cuthbert's Church in the tiny and very isolated village of Little Ponton, located just off the A1 in Lincolnshire, and this is the final resting place of Richard Palethorpe Todd. Richard lived in the village of Little Ponton for a while. He then moved to a hamlet in Lincolnshire called Little Humby, where he spent the rest of his life. Richard had a very fulfilling life as both a captain in the British Army, and he himself was involved in the D-Day landings and subsequent capture of Pegasus Bridge in conjunction with Major Howard, who was in charge of the operation. Richard was married twice. His first wife was actress Catherine Grant Bogle, whom he met at the Dundee Repertory Theatre, and they were married from 1949 until 1970, and they had a son Peter and a daughter Fiona together. In 1960 he had a son Jeremy, with the model Patricia Nelson. He was then married to the model Virginia Mailer from 1970 until 1992, and they had 2 sons together, Andrew and Seamus. In Britain, James Bond author Ian Fleming picked Todd as his first choice to play 007, but the actor turned down the role because of other commitments, and it went to Sir Sean Connery instead. Richard in turn continued to act in the 1980s with roles in the British TV shows including Casualty, the crime series Silent Witness, and the sci-fi classic Doctor Who. And we're just coming up to Richard Todd's grave now, and it's located in the top right hand corner of the churchyard at St Cuthalax Church, just next to the gate at the very back of the graveyard. And we'll just get closer to the stone and we'll read the inscription. Richard Andrew Palethorpe Todd, 1919 to 2009, husband of Virginia and Kitty, loving father of Peter, Fiona, Andrew, Seamus and Jeremy. Exit dashing young blade. And this was a description that Queen Mother gave him. Richard was met with tragedy at various points in his life. 2 of his 5 children died by suicide. In 1997, Seamus shot himself in the head at the family home in Lincolnshire, and he was just 20 years old. And an inquest determined that the suicide might have been a depressive reaction to the drug he was taking at the time for severe acne. And on the 21st of September 2005, Peter killed himself with a shotgun in East Marling, Kent, following marital difficulties. And Todd said that dealing with those tragedies was like his experience of war. Whilst he remained stoic throughout the remainder of his life regarding the 2 tragedies, they did haunt him for the rest of it. He was appointed an officer of the Order of the British Empire in 1993. Michael Winner said about Richard Todd, and I quote, "Richard was also a very, very nice person. He was a good friend and wonderful to work with, utterly professional, very quiet, just got on with it. He was just a splendid person and a very, very good actor.